Stephen Correño, Carol Water Sports are here with the Alien, B-Hop, the Executioner. I love all the names. Good to see you, man.
Good to be seen.
As always. Man, lots going on in boxing. You touched on it last time I spoke with you, obviously.
A lot of good things. A lot of good things.
I was going to say, you had an interesting perspective on it, because I feel like a lot of people in boxing kind of see it the way they saw when HBO left boxing, right? Like, oh man, money's leaving the sport, right. Like another network kind of pulling out of the sport. But you said it's good things. Tell the fans why.
Yeah, well, first of all, Showtime Boxing, rest in peace. I say that because of the change. I mentioned, I believe on this interview, the last one rather, I mentioned New World Order. New World Order. That goes for business too. If you're paying attention, you're not asleep at the wheel. You understand a lot of things is being changed around you. And if you're not aware of it, I'm making you aware of it now. And that's including boxing, sports, in boxing, TV networks in boxing, the way boxing is going to be shown and handled business-wise is very important for those who are promoters and who has a stake that's in boxing has to evolve in a new world. And to me, it's a good thing when new is being presented, especially around this time where boxing desperately needs credibility. Business of credibility. And so, I said it a minute ago, I'll say it again. Showtime Boxing, rest in peace. Let's deal with the new page that's been already churned, but it's just starting to hit people now. They are absolutely maybe a year too late. But they say it's better late than never for some, and some will pay a dear price for being asleep at the wheel. But on the other hand, boxing will never go away, never die. It'll go through its recession. It'll go through the highs, the lows. But at the end of the day, boxing will always survive like it has survived so many other historic events in this world that should have wiped boxing clean off the mat, but it haven't, and it will not this time. It's a lot of great fights that I'm looking for in 2024 in boxing in general. So to me, I think change is good when good intentions is to change it for the good. And that's how I feel about it.
Crawford was going back and forth with your business partner here, Oscar De La Hoya, kind of saying, Ryan said something as well, just kind of like, fighters need to kind of step up, kind of see what's happening, maybe be part of it. Crawford was saying that, fighters need to be at the table. We said on Twitter. Okay. He said, that he.
I didn't read it. That's why.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, I understand. He said that fighters need to be at the table for, kind of negotiations, things like that. And Oscar kind of said that it was more they need to maybe get representation, like good representation, and they basically kind of differed on that.
Well, that's not different. But let me tell you why it's not a different. Different people have said it. Oscar and Crawford. Crawford is not a promoter. Crawford is known as an athlete right now, a fighter. Oscar is a promoter right now. He spoke from a promoter's business language instead of him fighting from a Crawford. I don't know if Crawford managed himself. I don't know if Crawford promoted himself. I know that he left Top Rank to be able to do business himself. Let me tell you and your audience who might not know, this is not history making that Crawford have done. I commend him for doing something that I've started and was loud about it, and it was done before me. So someone had left and some experience to that individual, including myself, woke me up to take control of my career and life decision making at the table. Why do fighters need representation that they are getting the best from that representation? Is what Oscar was alluding to, saying that, hey, most fighters not going to do what Bernard done and manage himself. Don't you know there's only 2 fighters in boxing history that won the prestigious award called Manager of the Year? Did you know that? You didn't know that, and he's interviewing me. What did that tell y'all? It don't tell him.
Schooling me always.
It don't say that he's incompetent or he's stupid. It just say he's lack of information. George Foreman and Bernard Hopkins is the only 2 fighters in 100+ years of boxing who won Manager of the Year because we did something in our career that we took a risk. We gambled on ourselves. We made decisions on ourselves, and a lot of people didn't like it because they didn't want that to become a good virus, which means spread around to other fighters to say, hey, maybe I should try whether I succeed or not. So these are the things that I see. When Crawford says that, and Oscar says what he says, they are 2 different things. To me, it's not competitive to each other. It's saying, hey, here's a promoter slash ex-fighter Hall of Famer saying, hey, fighters should have representation to handle their business while they off in camp, why they got to keep their mindset on doing what need to be done to elevate their lifestyle, family-wise lifestyle, and eventually be talked about as a Hall of Famer when that career come, when that time come, because it will come sooner than later for most of them. So when I hear this, I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as Oscar saying, hey, majority of fighters don't want that responsibility of Crawford saying, I'm going to do it on my own, I'm going to get a representation, I'm going to get a good lawyer, I'm going to get a good boxing guy that knows the business of boxing and give me some, information when I need it. My advisor, whoever that person might be, or what title he hides under. So when I see this and I hear it, I experience, ain't nothing I don't think I didn't experience in boxing. And that's not saying I know everything, but I know more than the average bear. So when you look at that and those comments from 2 individuals that has legitimized to me what both people or both persons are saying, to me, they both right. Nobody's wrong. There's 2 battles. There are 2 agendas. Those agendas fit amongst the business that they represent. The fighter must know his business all the time, but it's a time that he must put that business in somebody he can trust, which ain't too many people, and go to what he needs or she needs to do, and that's get ready for combat. Because out of all the jobs that boxing brings to the people that surround that athlete, that fighter, nobody takes a punch but the fighter at the end. That there says that the fighter better get his ass or her ass in shape and not be distracted by anything that can distract them, because nobody really cares about your excuses. Nobody cares about what you didn't do. They sympathize out of pity at that moment, and they trick you and bamboozle you to think that they care, but they don't care 2 shits about it. Because they'll move on to the next interview, they move on to the next topic, and that fighter, she or he, will go home thinking that they sympathize with him or her, and they really don't. And in some cases, they will write her off or write him off in a heartbeat. So this is not a game of emotions. This is not a game of emotions. This is a game of intellect and information, especially if it's the right information. Other than that, you're a walking fool. You ever see a walking fool? Look around.
Any around here?
Plenty.
Let's take it into the ring, right? Let's talk a little actual boxing, like you said. Terence Crawford and Canelo, obviously coming off great performances, the both of them. Who is Bernard Hopkins pound for pound number one right now? And obviously they've talked about fighting each other. I believe I've heard you say it's a bad call for Crawford, but pound for pound is maybe a little different.
Let me tell you right now, pound for pound. And the only reason that, I'm going to go back again. He had his 30 days or 90 days in jail, and that Tank Davis beat Ryan Garcia. That started a sort of like a frenzy on starting big fights happening after we announced that fights need to be made that people care about. Golden Boy Promotion. I was loud at the wheel with it. Oscar was loud with it. We did the first fight to start a lot of big fights that happened and it's going to happen in the future. Again, when I think about who represents boxing right now as the face of boxing, the pound for pound of boxing, to me, it's Tank Davis based on the execution of Ryan Garcia and the way he executed Ryan Garcia. And just because it was months back, people forgot about it because of fights happened in between since then. But I won't forget that until Crawford is right on his heels based on how he annihilated, all right, that performance, right, that Terence Crawford took and made something that I thought that would be difficult and made it very easy to the point where some people still don't believe it. So he's on the heels of Tank Davis. In the quarter of 2024, next year early on, if both of these fighters fight before next summer or early on, they will actually be the face even more in the earlier 2024. But right now, it's Tank Davis, Crawford, and anybody else that won't think after that, the third or fourth, that could be debated amongst the public. But right now, I got to get at to Tank because it started what we have now in boxing. Debates, opinions, and big fights are happening. That opened up the gate. So I'm giving Tank Davis that and some based on making the fight happen along with Ryan Garcia and the way the fight was executed. And going past that, look what happened after that. Look at the fights that happened after that. That's considered big fights. And look what is happening now. And look what's going into 2024. So what that does to me is put a memo out to the world of boxing fans and casual boxing fans that boxing business is getting it. They finally getting what we've been saying. The best fight the best, not the promoters fighting the best promoters behind the table at the office. Put your best up against my best. That's what the NFL do. That's why they had playoffs.
Every year.
That's what the NBA do. That's why they had playoffs. Why the fuck we still in the red light district acting like we're in the 50s? This ain't gangsterism of the mob anymore. Like, I'm trying to figure out, either I'm the smartest person in the world amongst this boxing business, or they the dumbest. One of us got to wear that title. And then it comes down to they don't care. It ain't their kid. It ain't their son. It ain't their daughter. It ain't their uncle. It ain't their nephew. What they care? They getting a check. Blood suckers. Leeches.
Couldn't have said it any better. Thank you so much for your time. Legend, as always. Thank you.